After an action-packed race at the Milwaukee Mile last week, the race for the IndyCar Series Championship really heated up. Tony Kanaan ended Team Andretti Green's winless streak this season with a dominant performance to take the checkers.
Tony Kanaan is going to win this one.
The rest of the field comes to Michigan looking to test the might of the Penske and Ganassi 4. With 4 races, there's 4 faces still in the battle. Or can anyone else put up a fight? The most anticipated words waiting on here today in motorsports.
Start your engines.
And we have been waiting for that one, Larry Rice.
Yes, we have. And so have all those fans up in the stands. They've been extremely patient through a very long rain delay here. The only longer rain delay I remember in IndyCar racing was in Indianapolis a couple of years ago when it was delayed for a long, long time. We were on the air for a long time that day, too. But they're going to get the race going, and they are going to see a race here today. And that's what all those people up in the grandstands came to see. And that's what all those guys down here came to do. They came to race.
Well, I'm really glad I could be part of the second longest anyways. At least I'm in the history books, right? Well, as you can see, everybody lined up there on the grid. And we'll show you how they will stack up here. 1 through 10 rows. On the pole, Helio Castroneves with a time of 33:21 raises the record mark to 15 career. Sam Hornish on the outside of row number 1. In row number 2, Tony Kanaan, the first AGR driver we'll see, and then Ed Carpenter on the outside of row number 2 with a career best qualifying effort. In row 3, Scott Dixon, once again, looking to step up and hang on to the leaders. And Vitor Mera, who suffered a wreck one event ago, looking to redeem himself. In row 4, Dario Franchitti was not worried about qualifying, worked mostly on a race setup. And Thomas Schechter is hoping he has the magic he had when he won back in 2002. In row 5, Dan Weldon will line up alongside Buddy Rice. Dan Weldon says there's some problems in the car. They hope they found them. Buddy Rice would like to get back to his winning ways at Michigan like he did in 04. In row 6, Danica Patrick has a lot of momentum. Storylines buzzing all around her. She needs to settle down. Can she get that car up into the top 5 again? And Brian Herta dominated here a year ago. In row 7, Scott Sharp will start off on the inside of row number 7. 118 consecutive starts, 126 career. Kosuke Matsura on the outside of 7. In row 8, Buddy Lazier and Jeff Simmons. Simmons, in his 11th career start, is the 3rd Rahal Letterman machine. In row 9, Marty Roth, another rookie inside of the field, will line up alongside Jeff Bucknam, whose father won here 38 years ago. And in row 10, Marco Andretti, the phenom rookie, has his work cut out for him as he will try to work his way up through all the cars, get himself back into a position to be the youngest winning driver in IRL history.
Well, this is going to be a lot of a very interesting race. We take a look there at Marco Andretti, who is back at the end of the pack, and he's going to have to get through there pretty quickly. Race distance, 644 kilometers. Pit window, 38 to 42. Probably could go 46 or 47 laps if they had to. But, of course, Castroneves is on the pole, the 5th of this season. Keys to this race, it's going to be a couple of different things. Number one, you're going to have to be consistent in this thing. You're going to have to be very, very consistent, and you're going to have to draft and stay with the lead pack. The weather will be a factor only if it starts to rain again, which we don't really expect. But the key is get with the lead pack. Don't get left behind very early in the race. If you go a lap down, you're going to be in big, big trouble.
Of course, weather always an issue, and we'll find out if any changes need to be made to these cars after that first set of laps. The weather here right now, 24 degrees Celsius. The wind south-southwest about 8 kilometers. And the forecast partly sunny. Hopefully all the nasty stuff is behind us. Of course, humid out there as well. But all the Honda engineers will certainly take care of that and make sure everybody is equal. 1 lap to go. We will have a running yellow start. 1 lap to go. You can see the lap car out there.
Yeah, they're going to start this thing under the yellow. They're going to start scoring the laps. They're going to make sure that the drivers are comfortable. They're going to talk to them on the radios. They're going to have the drivers look at the racetrack, try to get some sort of a feel of the racetrack, and before they actually throw the green flag. So they will have a running yellow start. They will count the laps towards the 200-lap event. You take a look at Michael Andretti, who's looking at the chart. There's Chip Ganassi, another team, one of the team owners. A little bit laughing right there, but I'm sure a little bit of nerves inside.
Yeah, they might not be laughing here in a couple of minutes. They're going to get the business here pretty quickly.
Yeah, it'll be a green-yellow. What they'll do is throw the green and the yellow at the same time. They'll pick up speed. They'll get some laps for 2 reasons. Number one, like you said, the racetrack is going to be a little different. They're going to give these drivers a chance to kind of feel what the racetrack is going to be like. Then they will also give them a chance to make sure that it is dry, it is to their liking. And once they've done that, then they'll line it back up and they'll go full green.
I'm sure a little heat in the tires is not going to hurt either as they get everything up to running temperatures, operating temperatures. And this is the start of the race. You can see there just a little bit of moisture yet still on that track. But the race is officially started. Larry Rice, the first in my career that they started with a yellow flag.
Well, I've seen it. It does not happen very often, but I have seen them do this in the past where they start with a green-yellow flag at the same time. They want those cars out there on the racetrack trying to, they're going to have them run through that water, make sure that the cars can keep the racetrack dry. And if they can do that, see, all those guys are running through that water so that they know exactly where it is, number one. And number two, if they run through it and they get enough heat in the tires, that it should keep those weepers from weeping. Right now, that's the only place on the racetrack we see with any water coming through. So they want the drivers to be fully aware of what's going on out there.
So a tough thing. You can see everybody kind of moving the cars around a bit. I would say that's pretty much typical, trying to build a little bit of heat, a little bit of temperature inside of those tires. Also trying to figure out just how slippery is it out here, or is it slick at all? Possibly not at all, but certainly a test for all involved here, from racetrack to sanctioning body to drivers.
And there is a little concern. You can see the concern on Roger Penske's face, as he's got a monitor there. He's seeing the same thing we're seeing. He can see that weeper down there in the corner. You see that little bit of moisture that's down there. And it's a little bit disconcerting, and I'm sure the drivers are a little bit disconcerted too. So they'll probably, what they'll do is they'll try to run below or above that one little spot there on the racetrack. And they're telling us now that they got 1 to go, and they will be green next time by, full green.
So, yeah, 1 lap in the books already. They are scoring here. It'll be the first 2. It looks like the first 2 laps of this race under a yellow flag, and then we should go green. At least that's what we're being told.
Well, they haven't pulled up to a 2 abreast start yet, so I'm not sure. Maybe they'll be getting that signal this time by that the race is going to go green, because they would be pulling up 2 abreast if they had actually gotten that signal last time by. We'll take a look at the starters. We'll go by this time, see if in fact he does give them the 1 to go signal.
So we're going to give them 1 to go. That is the signal right there to the drivers, 1 to go. They will now pair up when they get on the back straightaway entering turns 3 and 4. This is a D-shaped oval. D-shaped oval, so When they come to the front, it is not a straightaway.
And Johnny Rutherford will want to bring them around. You can see he spun the tires a little bit there trying to get some heat in his rear tires. He's going to obviously try to move up very quickly. But Johnny Rutherford almost, as we take it right along here with Brian Herta, that was Mark Andretti. Here's Danica Patrick we're going to ride along with. We've got, I think, 6 in-car cameras right now. So now along with Dan Weldon. So he's in one of the cars. And then Thomas Schechter also has an in-car onboard camera.
Tony Kanaan there on board with him as well. So we will have a great onboard perspective throughout this entire race. And they are side by side. We are getting ready to go green here at the Michigan 400 after a long rain delay. The first 3 laps under caution. They're about to stand on the throttle looking at the flag stand. The pace car still out on the track. They'll pair up here, get as close as possible, and then get a run at this thing. Here comes the pace car. And already the Penske cars have fallen back in line. The green flag flies. We are live as we have started the Michigan 400 here in Brooklyn, Michigan at Michigan International Speedway.
Yeah, you can see already 3 abreast down there in turn number 1 as the 2 Penske cars side by side. And there they are, 3 abreast farther back in the field.
It's exactly what we were expecting here, but already it looks like the Penske cars are starting to check out. Is that possible? Tony Kanaan back in 3rd place, and we'll see him get side by side again, but the Penske cars look like they are being smart. Here comes Kanaan pulling up on the back bumper.
Well, Kanaan's doing the smart thing. He's just trying to catch that draft and stay with these guys. And you can tell the humidity from the camera shot there. A lot of humidity in the air here, so that's going to play a factor in the horsepower of these cars. But look, back beyond that 3rd place, look at that, 2, 4, 6 cars all battling.
Oh, Ed Carpenter in there right in the middle of the Vision car. And then, of course, here comes Vitor Meira working his way up through the pile as well.
Yeah, he's down on the inside. That was Dixon and Weldon who went on either side of Eddie Carpenter.
So close, side by side, as these drivers are used to this. This is what they do for a living, and they're not afraid to be mere inches away from each other. In fact, we saw Weldon and Marco touch during practice.
Yeah, and you can see most of the guys, once they make their move, they fall back into that single file, and it looks like Vitor Meira is going to make another move back there, because that's Ed Carpenter on the outside as he comes by.
On the Panther Racing solo car team has been so strong all season long. He said he likes it here. He said it's going to be a chess match. After they throw that green flag, he says you need to be patient, but you need to be aggressive at the same time, and he's certainly showing that.
And you can see all of those cars up in that lead pack, hanging right together, trying to keep that draft going. And here comes Thomas Schechter.
Getting a run on that drag like you talk about. Now, something else we talked about, Larry, explain it to the fans. When they go through the turns, you won't see them stacked up behind each other.
No, you have to give that guy in front of you a little bit of room because you have to keep the downforce on your front wings. So even if you're trying to draft the guy in front of you, you're going to move out maybe a half car width through the corners so that you can get that. You can see Sam Hornish doing that right there with Castroneves. Moves out a car width so he can get that downforce so he can get through the corners as quickly as he can.
Of course, you've got to keep that grip on the front end. If not, you will push up high. A lot of room here, though. 73 feet wide, this track through the turn. So you do have some room if you do encounter a push, but certainly you don't want to get there.
Well, all but 3 cars have been able to hang on to that lead pack. A very, very tight group of about 16 cars, all still running in that lead pack. Jeff Bucknam, Buddy Lazier, and Marty Roth have all fallen out of that lead pack a little ways.
By the way, Marco Andretti already up to 14th spot after starting dead last in the 19th hole. So excellent job. It looks like the kid is going to have another strong showing if he can keep this effort up.
Well, and the most important thing is he's been able to stay with the lead pack. If you lose that lead pack in the first 10 or 15 laps, you're going to be in trouble.
Sam Hornish Jr., your current leader right now. We talked about him leading more laps than anybody in the series this season with a total of 553 coming into this event. So maintaining that lead right now, of course, his teammate, the number 1 qualifier, Helio Castroneves. But we talked about Sam being just a tick quicker in practice. So he does have what it takes.
And look at Dan Weldon. He's up there putting a move on Tony Kanaan. Vito Mira, on the other hand, is to the outside trying to get around both of those guys. So a pretty good battle here for third position here early in the going.
And it looked like Weldon might have reached down, a quick shift down, a quick shift back up. I mean, just for mere seconds.
Well, it's a very small range of horsepower in these cars. They run...
Oh, baby, hold on.
Remember, these two guys were great teammates last year, but they're racing each other pretty hard right there as they got very, very close. It looked like Weldon pulled off the pass.
Yeah, and now Vitor Mera makes it 3 wide. No, it looks like Weldon will get the pass in front of Kanaan, but Kanaan's work is not done as Vitor Mera pulls up on the outside of him now. And right behind him, it looks like Ed Carpenter.
Yeah, all these guys battle each other very, very hard right now. And here comes Thomas Scheckter. He's on the outside. He's going to go with Mira in that draft. Oh, teammate. Teammate came up just a little bit, and you can see Thomas Scheckter move over, almost contact between he and his teammate. That would not have been good.
No, that would have been disaster, and it looked like Scheckter might even lose a spot there as he's feeling the heat on the outside. Oh, and another big move right there between Kanaan and Vitor, and now Scheckter runs up on the rear wing of Kanaan. Well, oh, man, this is what this is all about. Yeah. I mean, does it get any better?
Well, this racetrack has 8, look at that. Right there, he had to grab another gear. He had to get out of the throttle and grab another gear. He's going to lose a couple of spots just because he had to get out of the throttle right there in the middle of the corner. So, Scheckter having a little bit of a problem there when he had to climb out of the throttle. The power range of these engines is so small that when you get out of that, when you go from, it's 10.3 is the Revel engine. They only run them up to about 10.2, a little over that. So if you get below 9,800 RPM, they will shift so they can grab that next gear. And it makes a big difference whether you're in traffic or not in traffic as to whether you're grabbing that other gear.
Very exciting start. Well worth the wait, I might add. Lap 14 of 200 as they are already clicking off here very, very quickly.
Well, Castroneves following Sam Hornish with Dan Weldon back there in third place. And you can see there's Thomas Scheckter has fallen back to 8th after that little bit of a... really nothing happened except he got in a little traffic and had to lift. I think he was too close to the car in front of him. The front end took off on him a little bit and he had to get out of the throttle. When he did that, he lost at least 2 positions.
I don't know, it looked like somebody might have been off-road racing. A little mud up there on that lens. If it's on that lens, there's a real good chance that it's on his face mask as well.
And meanwhile, you can see that first group of cars, all of them still hanging tough and hanging close. And that's what most of these guys are trying to do. They want to move up, they want to pass, but they're okay as long as they can just hang with the leaders. The important thing is to be consistent. If you stay with these guys, you consistently run good laps, and then you're going to make your first pit stop and come back out and do the same thing, you're going to have a pretty good day here. But you're going to see some of the guys after this first, look at that whole group of cars, only 3 cars have fallen about a half of a straightaway behind.
As we look out of the back of Tony Kanaan's 7-Eleven machine, of course, from AGR, going back and talking about the Penske guys, you had to think that they were working together, playing it smart. Currently 4th as we look at Tony Kanaan, the number 11 car, started 3rd. I mean, he's right there in the hunt. You could go from 1st to 3rd here in a matter of a few feet, but as you watch these two guys go to work, obviously, Helio playing it smart. He is going to get behind Sam Hornish. No reason to race him right now. We have a long ways to go. But if they can work together, maybe they can do exactly what they've done right there. Get a little separation.
Well, you can see the other teammates right there. And look at Ed Carpenter. He's coming on very strong on the outside there.
Oh, man, talk about a run. And, Ed said his car has been fast a couple different occasions this year, and here comes Vitor even quicker.
Vitor Mira got a great run. He got a great run in the draft, and that's what has made Michigan so exciting in the past. You get a good run on a guy with that big draft down the straightaway, you can pull to the outside and make that pass.
I think we now have the official answer whether this track is ready to be raced on or not, as they have already gone 3 wide a number of times.
Well, we haven't had many lead changes so far, but this racetrack averages 18.5 lead changes per race. That's more than any other racetrack in the series. So that's what's made it so exciting, and that's why the fans come to watch.
Looking out of the back right there.
Here comes Marco.
Patrick. And Marco, doing a great job. And Danica in 14th now, so Marco obviously falling back one from when we mentioned it before, but Marco right there hanging on.
Marco coming on strong. That's Jeff Simmons right behind him. Both these guys rookies who started pretty far back in the pack.
And typically what they have shown, Marco and Danica, is the fact that they hang around. They hang around. We go on board with Marco right now. They hang around and then just get better throughout the race. Suddenly at the end, guess what?
Yeah, he's certainly looking good right now. Danica Patrick falling back from that lead pack a little bit, and DeMarco trying to get around her. But all three of these guys have lost the lead pack now, and that's something you don't want to happen. And it looks like Danica's has not got the car that she had hoped to have.
Yeah, that is actually a huge gap. We had an opportunity to look at it. They have a lot of real estate to cover to get back up there in that lead pack, and chances are pretty good that that will not happen unless there's some sort of incident they're able to close that gap up.
Well, yeah, on the yellow flag they can catch back up, but right now they've fallen 3 seconds, about 3.5 seconds off of that lead pack. So, they've got a long way to go, and they're going to be hoping that the yellow flag comes out so they can come in and make some adjustments, hoping to get back so they can run with that lead pack.
And Marco tucking up behind Danica Patrick there. You can see, as you mentioned before, Larry, get outside of her car and get that arrow on the front wing to keep the grip that he needs to get through the turn there. Also seems shift the gear right there. You can actually hear a difference in the RPMs.
Yeah, the first 13 cars, though, 13 out of the 19 cars all running very close to each other, still in that lead pack. These three cars are running together a few laps back, and then there's another three a ways on back. But Jeff Simmons, Marco, and Danica all running right together.
Good opportunity to listen here for just a moment.
Now you can hear Danica she's shifting gears too. That means that she must have a real bad understeer, and she has to shift gears in order to get that thing back up on the RPM. We're going back to the lead as Castroneves still just following his teammate. You can see they've lost a little speed down to 243 kilometers an hour from 244 they were running a while ago, or 344 So they've lost a little bit of speed, and that's what happens with the tires. As you run more and more laps, they do slow down ever so slightly.
We did see Elio pull right up on the rear wing of Hornish, and then check up. Did not race him, just checked up and stayed behind him. Part of the strategy here. We also heard from him say earlier in the day that he was going to go for it every single race from now on. No more conservative, no more taking it easy, no more being patient. He wants to win, period.
Well, the strategy right now is a little bit different than it would be if the weather was still really threatening. You don't have to lead at this point. Right now, he's in a perfect position. He's saving fuel for one thing. When you get up next to a guy like that, you can climb out of the throttle just ever so slightly and save a little bit of fuel. So that's a good thing for Castroneves right now.
Right now in third place, Dan Weldon, then followed by Tony Kanaan. In fourth place, Vitor Mera rounds out the top five, followed by Ed Carpenter and Thomas Schechter, division teammates.
Meanwhile, back here, that was Danica again with Marco still following her on the racetrack. These two guys they're trying to pull away from the pack. Absolutely trying to run nose to tail. And you can see he pulls out enough to keep the air on the front wings when he gets to the corner, but down the straightaways, he tucks right in behind him. It looks like it's working a little bit as they pulled several car lengths ahead of Weldon now. And that's because Kanaan was not staying in line. He went out and tried to pass him. When they were running side by side, it cost them a little bit of distance on the racetrack.
I think the fact that Weldon and Kanaan, they have kind of lined up as well. If you take a look at Kanaan's line, he goes way outside of Weldon through the turns, unlike Elio, who goes no farther outside of Hornish than what he absolutely has to. And then, of course, you have everybody racing back behind Kanaan, and those guys are all fighting for position literally every lap.
Yeah, and you can see Vitor Mera on the outside as he and Carpenter are going at it tooth and nail back there.
As long as they get racy in the back, these two in the front will have an opportunity to string it out. But it looks like Dan Weldon all by himself is able to keep up. I'm not sure that he's not going to pull up in the draft with them.
Yeah, he's trying right now desperately just to stay with those guys, use that draft to get back up. He'd like very much to be able to do with Castroneves what Castroneves is doing with Hornish, and that is put your nose right on his rear wing and just run there and run there. Meanwhile, those guys back there, Mira and Carpenter, running side by side, are losing some ground to the rest of the field by running side by side like that.
Great onboard shot here with Dan Weldon. You can see, and it looked like that car might have washed up just a little bit. Might be a line that he's picking here as they come down the front stretch. And this D-Oval still making a slight turn. Keep your eyes on the hands there. Still in a slight turn and a slight degree of banking there on the front stretch.
Well, they told us earlier that their cars seem to want to run the high line more than the bottom line. Now, so far, Weldon has been right on the bottom, but he's been coming up a little higher, coming off the corner. Maybe that's why, as it looks like Schechter's going to make a move on his teammate. Once again, that's Ed Carpenter on the outside. Vision Racing Team side by side is Thomas Schechter. And boy, they get close again. I'm sure that both Tony George and Larry Curry don't like to see those guys running that close together.
Oh, man, and I'll tell you, pulling back in line and nearly got collected there with one of the Chip Ganassi cars.
That's Scott Dixon back there. Is Scott Dixon trying to find a way. Remember, you're flat out. If you get out of the throttle, it hurts you. So these guys are trying to run flat out. So they're moving around on the racetrack trying to keep from lifting out of the throttle while they're doing that. Scott Dixon kind of got caught out when Schechter made that move.
Everybody pretty much back in line now as we speak. And, you know, I guess that's the good and bad. I mean, when you get these cars close together in performance, you have one that's good. You put the setup in the other car. We spoke with Larry Curry. He said, you know, what do you do to Schechter to get him a little bit quicker? He said, well, first of all, it's hundredths of a second from Ed Carpenter. But he said, second of all, they both have the exact same setup inside of the car. So you would expect this. You would expect them to go out and be very, very close on the racetrack. But then it's up to the drivers to have the smarts to not crash each other.
Well, that's exactly right. Scott Dixon back there, he's hanging on to that lead group. And Buddy Rice also hanging on to that lead group right behind Dixon. So all those guys still very much in the hunt here early in the going, as Weldon has closed that gap slightly on our two leaders.
Sam Hornish Jr. is your leader. Elio Castroneves running right up underneath him once again. Has been doing that all race long. That's the difference of the draft right there.
And you can see he got right up behind him, just lifted out of that throttle ever so slightly down there so he doesn't run over him. He didn't want to pass him. If he'd been trying to pass him, he'd have pulled to the outside and tried to make the pass. But that draft allows him to pull right up on that rear wing. And then as they get to the corner, he'll move up. There he moves up, so he keeps that arrow on the front wings. Weldon is far enough back, though, that he can stay down on the inside, but he's actually a little bit lower than Hornish is, so he's still getting some air on his front wing.
Yeah, I think he was actually able to keep the preferred line, the little quicker line, as we watch Elio go up. He goes down to keep the air on his front wing, although I don't know if it worked for him right there.
Yeah, it looks like the front end took off. He had some understeer there, took off towards the wall a little bit. And, you know, as long as you don't have to get out of the throttle, you can take that little bit of moving around and moving up the racetrack, and it doesn't bother you. But now Mira has moved up, and he's going to challenge Kanaan again, it appears.
And Dan Weldon lost so much real estate there just because of that one small move. You spoke of it before. I doubt if he even took his foot off the throttle, but probably feathered it just a taste, and it cost him that much.
Yeah, it can be. Well, we've seen Thomas Schechter. He lost 2 spots. It can be a good distance once you lift out of the throttle. Again, these engines, 3-liter engines, they make about 700 horsepower. But if you lift such a small power range in the RPM, it can cost you a lot of speed on the racetrack. You can bet that if Dan Weldon gets up there, the strategies are going to change for those 2 leaders if he gets up there and challenges them. and there's nothing he would rather do at this point than get up there and challenge for that lead. Again, see how much higher he went? They took a little air off that front wing. He drifted up the racetrack just ever so slightly and lost just a little bit of ground.
And I think it actually shows just how tough it can be to make a pass here. I mean, even though everybody can run very close, 2 and 3 wide, as you see here, if these guys work together, the Penske team cars, of course I'm speaking of, as they actually split going through those turns, it really forces them to take a different line, maybe even check up.
Right, and Mira back there, looks like he's lost a spot to Ed Carpenter. He was running on the outside of Kanaan trying to make that pass. Actually gave up a spot as Ed Carpenter went around him. He moves into 4th.
Battle for 10th place here. Scott Sharp, Kosuke Matsura, and Franchitti back behind them.
And then Herta's the 4th car in that group. So those guys running 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th right now. And they have fallen just a ways off of that lead group. Those 2 cars actually teammates. Adrian Fernandez Racing Stable. Both those cars owned by Adrian Fernandez out of Mexico. And those guys both running very well. Matsura has had some very good, brilliant moments this year. And he's had some other moments that have not been quite so good. But here today, they're running out, from 10th on back and losing ground to the leaders, which is what you can't have happen here at Michigan.
Of course, you see Sharp going way high. That is that high line that you spoke of before that Dan Weldon said his car was actually quicker in. As we go to the battle for 4th place, and once again, we'll go on board with Scheckter. You can see Kanaan coming up on the outside of Scheckter. Oh, man, this is just incredible racing.
Boy, you are right. Scheckter, he made a nice move up through all that traffic. Now look at this, 3 wide. Ed Carpenter clear on the outside. Vito Mira is just kind of sitting back there watching at this point as they head down the back straightaway. But Scheckter, look at this, 3 wide again.
Carpenter coming up on the outside of Kanaan, trying to make a move. Sounded like Kanaan might have pedaled it just for a moment.
Now Mira inside that group.
Boy, Kanaan really wiggled. 4 of them. You could tie them together with a shoestring.
Kanaan comes out ahead of Scheckter that time. Now they're coming up on pit stops here in about the next 3 or 4 laps. So these guys are going to have to settle down just a little bit. They're going to have to start listening to their race strategists, because we will see pit stops here in the next. We're on lap 39 right now, lap 40, I mean, and so we're going to see a pit stop probably in the next 3 laps, 4 laps at the most.
Tony Kanaan doing a nice job here as that team has struggled pretty much all year long. We talked about the involvement of the Indy Pro Series. Tony Kanaan did have the opportunity to test here about a month ago. Obviously, it has paid off. He's doing a great job so far, running around in 4th place and qualified in 3rd.
And Mira taking advantage. Those guys went up the racetrack. Mira's going to come into the pit. You see him dip below that line? That's an indication to the drivers behind you that you're going to make a pit stop. If you dip below that white line on the back straightaway, Danica's already in. Oh, we got a couple of cars up there smoking, trying to get on the brakes.
So you're exactly right. Brian Barnhart instituted that rule. You're going into the pits and dip down below that white line to let the other drivers know. Both Penske cars will come in here. It looks like they're tied together. They have not left each other since the start of this race.
Well, they certainly haven't, and one of them at least got on the brakes so hard they smoked the tires coming in there, because you have to be down 2 pit speed. It's 65 miles an hour, I believe, on this racetrack. You can't be above that when you enter, or it's a 1-lap penalty, a drive-through penalty, which in effect is a 1-lap penalty.
And a perfect stop for both.
Wow, look at Mira. He got a great stop, too. He's in and out. They've had some trouble in Vitor Mira's pits occasionally, but that time they got in and out very well. Let's see if Tony Kanaan can do the same.
Tony Kanaan coming in here, of course. Dan Weldon, by the way, staying out. He will lead a lap.
You can see the tires get changed much quicker than the fuel. Back out. Looked like a good pit stop, though, for Tony Kanaan.
So as we cycle through, you can see everybody pulling into the pits. A green flag pit stop, putting all the teams to the test. Dan Weldon is your leader right now, followed by Scott Dixon, then Kosuke Matsura.
Yeah, those drivers have gone a good ways. Dixon Weldon a lap farther than anybody else. Oh, Marty Roth who obviously did not calculate his fuel very well. And this could be a big break for Weldon and Dixon, who will get to pit under the yellow, it looks like.
Yeah, and of course, we mentioned it before, an opportunity for some of those other cars to close back up. We'll find out if it helps them as well, but you're exactly right. What a huge break here for Weldon and Dixon.
Well, we'll have to see how this plays out. If they come in and make a pit stop and get back out in front of these guys, they could actually gain a whole lap on the field, which would be huge here at this racetrack. But if they come back in behind them, then in the Indy Racing League rules, the first car behind the pace car on the restart has to be the leader. So we'll see. And this guy's got to be close on fuel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they can't get in there, I mean, I guess there's certainly not, but we say it could be an advantage, could be a big disadvantage here in a moment if they run out of fuel.
Well, exactly. It could be a huge disadvantage. We said before that we thought the pit window would be about a lap 42. Well, they did run, remember, the first 3 laps under yellow, so that extends that a little bit to maybe 43. They've gone 44 at this point, so they should be really right on the edge. And we're hearing that Scott Dixon has run out of fuel. Oh, wow.
That is huge so early in this race.
Wow, what a huge disappointment for him. He's going to coast around, but he's going to lose a lap because of this. And Dan Weldon, one thing I do remember from last year is Weldon's got the best fuel mileage of any of the AGR drivers. Nobody on the team could explain it other than to say that, different driving styles get different kinds of fuel mileage. Obviously, Weldon's still getting the best fuel mileage of anybody on his team as Scott Dixon is out.
All 4 tires will come off and be replaced. Of course, a full load of fuel as well, upwards of 30 gallons.
Well, he's in and out in good shape. Scott Dixon, the big loser on this yellow flag. Remember, they probably had the pits closed the first time he went by is the reason he didn't go in the first time, and he's just not going to make it around. And it's going to be very, very difficult. There you can see Marty Roth being towed in, and boy, there's going to be...
How about this? Brian Herta with a pit speed violation.
Well, what that means is once the green flag goes out, he will have a drive-through penalty, and basically it's a 1-lap penalty because at this racetrack, even though you lap it in about 33 and a half seconds, by the time you build up speed, slow down, run through the pits, it's going to be a 1-lap penalty.
Scott Dixon, unfortunately, qualifying 5th. Let's go down to Chip.
Stan and Chip, you just brought your one driver, Dan Weldon, in, and Scott Dixon not quite so lucky.
Yeah, Jerry, I don't really know what's going on there with Scott. He's at the other timing stand there with Mike. You might want to talk to him. But Dan's okay.
Dan's all right. So you're not listening to Scott. Basically, you were trying to orchestrate what's going on with Dan.
Yeah, no, I don't know yet.
Okay, Chip Ganassi up here. He saw what happened to Scott Dixon a moment ago, but Mike Hull, the managing director, basically called Scott Dixon in a lap early and then said stay out because they heard it was going to be a yellow, which anyone would expect a driver to do. And, of course, making him stay out, which is what they wanted to do, costing that fuel situation. And now...
Yeah, that's a huge disadvantage to him and a huge error, right? Quite honestly, I mean, if I'd have been him, the strategist, I would have sent him out too. I have to tell you, because they try to figure that fuel mileage, and obviously he thought with those 3 yellow flag laps and then the yellow being out, he could make it around for 1 more lap, and that did not happen. And it was a huge mistake for those guys, but I'm not sure it's a mistake that I might not have made had I been the strategist for that team.
Scott Dixon, who qualified 5th, had an excellent car, no question, and was expected to be a factor in today's race before it was all said and done.
Well, the good news is Sam Hornish fell a lap down last week. And with good pit strategy, he came back, got back on the lead lap, and eventually finished 2nd. So it is possible, but it sure makes it a lot harder on the driver to have to do something like that.
Obviously under yellow flag condition here as they clear the car of Scott Dixon off the track and out of harm's way. I don't see, it looks like they're still waving the yellow flag. I did not see the signal for 1 to go.
No, they're probably going to give him 1 more lap and then send them back out. So we'll Matsura, Brian Herta is going to have to make a penalty. He's going to have to come into the pits. So
Matsura has yet to pit as well. I believe he's the only one still out there, shockingly enough.
Yeah, he's still on the racetrack. So, well, those guys, all three, Matsura and Herta and Dan Weldon, they are the three on the lead lap. Those three have a lap lead on everybody else because they had not made a pit stop. So Matsura, Brian Herta, and Weldon have a lap on everybody else on the racetrack right now.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Brian Herta who received the pit speed penalty, so he did come in.
It'll make a huge mistake for him because he's going to have to pull through once the green comes out. So that'll leave just 2 cars on the lead lap and gives a huge advantage to Dan Weldon and Koki Matsura after that penalty to Brian Herta.
And maybe what Koki needs to get this win.
And that's exactly what those guys did, is exactly what you try to do. You try to gain the advantage by staying on the racetrack as long as you can, hoping that maybe a yellow will come out. Haven't seen it happen very often, but it certainly happened for these guys this time. A very, very interesting happening here early in this event.
And he is yet to pull into the pit, so you wonder just what type of mileage he gets.
No, he's been in the pits. He's already pitted, but he got in and out.
My bad.
Ahead of the crew.
So Koki Matsura, your leader, followed by Brian Herta, Dan Weldon, and Sam Hornish. Well, once again, welcome as we continue on here. The yellow flag condition still in effect here, as we saw Scott Dixon a little bit earlier run out of fuel. They had to go out with a pickup truck and pull him off, get him cleared off the racing surface, still under yellow flag condition. And now we believe it might be something to do with timing and scoring, not necessarily something with the track.
Yeah, and you can see that Matsura is being shown as the leader at this point. He is near the back of the pack. If he is indeed the leader when they get the timing and scoring all figured out, all those cars in front of him will get to go around and join the pack in back. So look at all those cars up there in front. Every one of the guys who pitted earlier, they will get to go around the pace cars. They will, in effect, get that lap back. They will be at the back of the field because in the IndyCar racing rules, the leader of the race has to be the first car behind the pace car. So even though they almost lost a complete lap during the pit stops, they will get that lap back and be at the end of the lead lap when the race restarts.
So once again, they'll try to get that figured out just as quickly as possible. There seems to be no shortage of curveballs coming here at Michigan International Speedway here today.
Yeah, it seems like we've had our share of exciting things. And look at this. Sam Hornish is going to come in. He's going to top off, as we've seen them do many times. Use a little bit of pit strategy that's different. And it looks like Scott Dixon also coming in. Of course, he's doing it because he's already lapped down. Penske has done this before. Oh, it looks like it's not a fuel problem. It's some other problem. It looked like they were looking at the radiators like he might be having an overheating problem. They looked at the left side of that race car at the intakes in there to make I'm not sure exactly what they were looking at, but it was not to top off the fuel.
Maybe to check for debris or a bag or something, but I didn't see him actually doing it. I mean, I don't know what you would do to it that quickly.
Now they looked at the left side pod, but they did not add fuel, so it was not a fuel pod. I thought he was trying to use a fuel strategy to come in and put more fuel in that car, but that's not what happened.
So the number 6 having some issues here. We'll find out how that develops here in just a little bit. Sam Hornish Jr., who was the race leader up until the time that we had the yellow flag.
Yeah, well, it's going to be...
Oh, and there's a new radiator coming out, it looks like. Wow.
They were looking to see if there was a leak in the radiator. We thought maybe it was an overheating problem, but they were actually looking to see if there was a leak in that radiator. They're getting the 1 lap to go, and everybody is on the lead lap. They did not lose a lap. Now we've got the timing and scoring straightened out. Matsura is the leader. Brian Herta is second. Dan Weldon is third. because they made those pit stops under yellow. But everybody else is on the same lap with them. So because of the way the yellow fell and those guys getting in and out, they are all still on the lead lap, which is good news for everybody, including Sam Hornish, who's at the rear of the pack right now.
Yeah, we'll have to find out what develops there with a possible radiator problem with Sam Hornish Jr. We'll find out if that is something that crops up and has to come in and make a change.
The bad thing is he lost a lap when he went in.
Look at it.
Yeah, they're looking to check and see if there is a water leak in that thing. Obviously, he has a heating problem. They're looking to see if it's a water leak or exactly what's going on as they're getting ready. They're on the throttle, getting ready to come down for the green flag. And look at this. Oh, we've got guys touching on there.
Wow.
That was Castroneves along with Weldon, who actually touched wheels going down that front straightaway.
And they are bunched up.
4
cars. 9 cars, 10 cars. 3 wide, 3 different rows of 3 wide as you go on board right there with Brian Herta looking out of the back of the car. And look at the dicing back behind him. An incredible job by Ola.
Well, Castroneves right behind Brian Herta. Now, if what we were told is true, and they're going to give Brian Herta a speeding violation for pit lane, he will have to pull in here in the next couple of laps. Meanwhile, look on the outside, as that's Weldon way on the outside trying to get around those guys.
And Dan Weldon said his car likes it up there. Let's go back. This is when they touch, Larry.
Look at these guys down the front straightaway. And you can see right there, you didn't see the black mark, so maybe they didn't actually touch. But man, I'd have bet my life they banged wheels going down that front straightaway.
Boy, oh boy. It's about as close as you can get and not touch the 2 Vision cars. Ed Carpenter making a move on the inside around his teammate, Thomas Schechter.
And that was Weldon, who actually, by running so high on the racetrack, lost a little ground. And look at Dixon. He's now in front of him.
Herta down below.
And look at that group of cars.
Man, what a pack of cars. As once again we go on board with Dan Weldon.
And look at this. Vito Mira up there battling for the lead with Helio Castroneves. That's Scott Dixon, and Mira's going to lead that lap.
How about that? Vitor Mira able to work his way up to the front. Scott Dixon in the 9 car down below in the number 6 car. And Sam Hornish Jr.
Those guys running almost 4 abreast as Dan Weldon way on the outside battling with his teammate now as they go down the back straightaway.
Dan Weldon on the outside looking over at the 9 car. Scott Dixon. And it looks like he will get a small advantage, at least momentarily. Somebody completely below the white line.
Well, that could be Brian Herta. He might be signaling that he's going to make a pit stop because of that penalty. We'll have to wait and see.
Finally starting to settle down just a little bit, allowing us to breathe as well.
Boy, look at this.
Out of the back of Schechter's machine, 3 wide once again. Once again, we're going to go back and take a look at this. We hear that it's Sam Hornish who went below the white line. They said he was forced down there. I don't know that he was forced down there. My bad. It was Helio Castroneves, by the way. But I didn't see anybody force him down there. Might have went down there to keep his momentum up.
Wow, look at this. This is Hornish up here in this lead pack, trying to get his lap back. He went a lap down when he made that stop. So Hornish has made his way all the way back up to the front. He is a lap down trying to get around Vitor Mira so he can get his lap back. And it's Castroneves. Those 2 cars exactly alike. We got them confused. But it's Castroneves who's a little bit farther back in the field. And it's Hornish who is actually up there battling to try to not take the lead, but just get his lap back.
And you know, we did see this one event ago at Milwaukee, and Thomas Schechter going a lap down, fought his way back up in front of the leaders, got that lap back, and then finished in 3rd place. Now it looks like Hornish just fell back a number of positions.
I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, he's got trouble.
Maybe it's that heating problem. That's what we talked about before. Could be unraveling before our eyes.
Well, and the other part of this story is Marco Andretti is now back there in 4th spot. as he through that pit stop, he made a huge gain, and he's right up there battling with the leaders.
Unbelievable. So Sam Hornish, unfortunately, looks like he is having a problem. Qualified on the front row, led so many laps of this race. Pulled in briefly. The crew took a quick look at the radiator. Currently in 17th place now. Will certainly come into the pits, I would think, here.
Well, he's saying that the engine is something's going wrong with the engine, so he's going to head in. So as quickly as he got a break in the last race when everybody else ran poorly, and he pulled out to a 30-point lead, just as quickly he's going to lose that point lead here today.
Boy, and you just don't know. I mean, nothing's settled by any stretch of the imagination in terms of this championship yet. You mentioned it before, one of the closest battles of all time.
And look at Marco Andretti. He's a car on the outside. He said yesterday, I've never been so scared in a race car. It scared me to death. Today, he's out there battling for second place.
Well, you had to think what he said during our rain delay. Whenever he mentioned, we found a couple of things that were wrong with the car, a couple of things that we thought had been taken care of when they put the Canaan setup in there. But obviously was not. Now he thinks that they had the car fixed. It looks like they do have the car fixed.
Castroneves looks to be struggling just a little bit back there after he fell back. He's never gotten back up there to run with the 2 or 3 leaders. Vito Mira, meanwhile, is pulled out into a 4 or 5 car length lead with Weldon in second.
And the crew around Hornish's car, just with the engine bonnet off, obviously, looking very perplexed, not knowing what to do. The tape coming off, that is the tape around the seams of the bodywork, something Penske has done to make that car as aero as absolutely possible. But it looks like they're perplexed as to what to even do.
Yeah, they're going to pull that off, take a look in there and see if they can find anything. Because of the point situation, if they can fix that car and get it back on the racetrack, they'll run as many laps as they can to try to gain 1 or 2 spots, which is what Castroneves, he gained 1 spot after that crash. They fixed it, he went back out, he gained 1 spot, which wasn't a lot of points, but in the end, it may pay off for him. As we take a look, as we ride along with Marco Andretti, as he's following Thomas Scheckter, Dan Weldon right in front of Thomas Scheckter.
Boy, what a great run. This kid has just been simply phenomenal. Downshifts right there through the turn.
Yeah, you could see he was kind of hunting a little bit, trying to figure out exactly what to do. Ed Carpenter right behind him. And then Scott Dixon, as Ed Carpenter now goes to the outside of Marco.
And a great battle still as you take a look at the top 10 cars. I mean, all right there.
Yeah, actually, it's about 12 or 14. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them there, I can tell you that. Vito Mira's got the biggest lead of any of them right now with the lead, and he's only about 4/10 of a second ahead of second place.
So anything able to happen here at any given moment is, once again, you look at him go nose to tail right here, kind of calming down a little bit. You see them suck up to each other, and here comes Marco. As soon as I say that, taking a look at Scheckter.
And you see, as soon as he pulled out into that air, as soon as that air hit him and slowed him down a little bit, he grabbed another gear. That's the big difference with these cars. Now then he pulls it back into high. They run 2 top gears, 5th and 6th gear, both very close to each other, but they do it because of the draft and because of the way you have to run the racetrack here at Michigan.
We'll see if he gets another run on him right here as you're looking out of the back of Schecter's machine.
Here comes Castroneves. He's now gotten around Dixon. So one at a time, he's trying to claw his way back up to the front. Canaan, meanwhile, is back in 7th position, also trying to get his way back up front.
Yeah, and 7th position is not that far back. I mean, that's the irony of it all. I mean, as you take a look at Ed Carpenter there on the outside, go back on board with Marco. Marco just driving like a champ, hanging right in there in 4th place.
Well, these guys all nose to tail at 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th right there, nose to tail on the racetrack. Marco Andretti. Oh, he's getting past right now. It looks
that has
like
to be Scheckter.
No, it was Carpenter on the outside. This Carpenter went around him. So now he didn't really go around him. He got the side of him. Now then he's kind of stuck as he got out there in that dirty air. He wasn't in the draft anymore. And once he got that draft, it sucked him up alongside, but he couldn't go ahead and complete the pass. Now he's having to drop back in behind him.
such tough racing.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. Here comes Scott Sharp on the outside back there as he's trying to make a pass. So we got people all over the racetrack trying to improve their position and get up there so they can battle Vitor Meira, the little team that could, as they say, up there leading this thing.
They are ripping off the laps here, but it's Vitor Meira as we go back down and take a look at Sam Hornish.
They're going to restart him to send him back out there. And you can see that's Roger Penske right there, the closest guy to the camera. He's looking on at what's happening out there.
And look at Vitor Meira just driving away. The Panther team, revised sponsorship on it, currently first, has had 16 of 69 laps so far today, and is doing it decisively right now.
Well, he certainly has. He's led more than anybody else.
Looks like Tony Kanaan there. And Scott Sharp on the outside of him. Oh, and a little wiggle underneath Scott Sharp there.
These guys battling all. Oh, that looked pretty close too. As Scheckter and Dan Weldon got very close. Scheckter trying to go to the outside to pick up second place. I think Weldon entered the corner a little higher than Scheckter had anticipated. And when he did, and again, see Weldon does not go to the bottom of the racetrack. He stays up about a car width off that pole, and I don't think Scheckter was expecting that the first time by. Now here comes Ed Carpenter, who's either going to give his teammate a boost into the lead or try to go around both those guys. We'll see which one he chooses.
Well, it looked like he sucked up behind him and was going to try to help his teammate out there in Scheckter, but then obviously he needs to get out and get some air on his wing as well. He needs to get a little bit wider. They all fall back in line now, but look at the lead that Vitor Meira has stretched out while everybody races back behind him. He continues to rip off consistently very, very quick laps.
Well, the reason he's pulled out into that lead is simply because the other guys back there are battling each other. And it looks like Sam Hornish is back in the pits, and that's not a good sign. He's already, whatever's wrong is pretty bad because he only made about 1 or 2 laps and pulled immediately back into the pit area.
About 347 kilometers per hour there for Vitor Meira.
Yeah,
Not the fastest on the track, though, as we actually have seen Dan Weldon bump up there just a tick quicker at 348.
Yeah, those two guys running extremely quick. Well, everybody's running quick. And here's Sam Hornish out of the car. Not the way he wanted this week to end. He had a terrific week. Big celebration back in his hometown. Great qualifying time. But very early on in the going, engine problems of some sort or overheating problems of some sort. Not sure it was an engine problem. But has put him out of this event and is going to put a big blow in his championship.
And you're right, out of Defiance, Ohio, you know that he had a lot of fans here, a lot of hometown fans here. He came in with a 25-point lead over Scott Dixon, a 30-point lead over Elio Castroneves, and a 32-point lead over Dan Weldon. All that will change for sure.
Yeah, we're going to go down and try to get a word with Sam Hornish. I'm sure he's very dejected, but let's go down and see what he's got to say.
We don't even know if the temperature's actually up or if it's something that's in the boxes, or we don't even know what's going on with it. It just really a big shame, only guy to have a problem. So what are we going to do about it? I don't know what to say. It's a shame. Marble Team Penske gave me a good car. We could lead when we wanted to. And to see what we can do at Kentucky. We're going to have a big hole to dig ourselves out of again. Thanks, Sam.
Well, and that's exactly what makes a championship is the fact that you have to deal with all these things. And
look at Castroneves. He is really all over. Ed Carpenter, remember, these two guys ran into each other last week. And right there, Castroneves was giving him all kinds of hand signals that weren't happy hand signals as he felt like Carpenter ran him right up to the wall. Carpenter had to get out of the throttle, so he's going to lose a couple more spots there. But Elio Castroneves not happy with Ed Carpenter.
Boy, oh boy, and we talked about that earlier. Do you check that out at the door? Does it come here? Well, when you get to racing with each other, well, maybe it does come back to the surface. We'll look at it one more time. Ed Carpenter down below. Elio coming up behind him right now. Will shoot to the outside and then up beside him.
Well, he goes up beside him. At the same time, Carpenter moves up to try to make the pass. And look at this. Carpenter goes way up the racetrack. He runs second groove out. Now coming off.
It looked like Carpenter wanted to get out and around Marco and then kind of held his line, if you will.
Yeah.
Never really pulled back in behind Marco.
Yeah, they were just running 3 wide there, and it wasn't really anything Carpenter could do.
Well, Elio did wave to him, though, no doubt, just saying hello.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. Now that Elio is trying to get around Marco, boy, he got a huge run on Marco that time, as Marco evidently had to lift a little bit as he lost 2 spots as Kanaan also went around him, 1 on each side. So, boy, the slightest little lift on the throttle makes a huge, huge difference.
And it can really throw the rest of the field a curveball as well, as they all jostle to get around somebody that has lost a few kilometers per hour. They run up on them so hard. There's a great opportunity there for a wreck, but all the drivers so far are doing a great job.
You can't imagine the closing speed. When somebody lifts when you're running this fast, the closing speed with your car, if you're still at full speed, is just phenomenal. And you're right. You move out to miss the guy in front of you. Maybe there's a guy outside of you. There could be a collision, and all you're trying to do is keep from running over the guy in front of you. So those kind of accidents can happen when it's really nobody's fault. Everybody's trying to miss the accident.
Great racing action here at Michigan International Speedway. Phenomenal. Once we finally got the green flag to wave, it has been spectacular.
Scott Dixon now back there trying to get around Ed Carpenter. He moved to the outside. We're looking back from Tony Kanaan's position. And now we see Castroneves as he's on the outside of Dan Weldon. And he's been flirting with that wheel bump and stuff all day long. But that's what you got to do here in Michigan if you want to make the pass.
Yeah, you can't be afraid of that and do anything here. And I'll promise you, nobody out there in those cars is. And look, that is a huge move.
Well, when Castroneves told us before this race he was going to go out there and drive every lap like it was the last race of the year, he's doing that so far as he's driven like a madman here for these last 10 or 15 laps.
Boy, no question. Completely down below the white line, back up to the outside group, and now Schechter tucking up underneath him.
Yeah, Schechter follows him right on past Dan Weldon. And here comes on the outside, that's Ed Carpenter, his teammate. You can see Weldon, he had to lift a little bit as the front end went away from him, and Kanaan's going to go past.
No question, will cost him another position, possibly 2.
Yeah, his teammate's going to get around him, and so is Buddy Rice in the 15 car clear on the outside.
Well, hold on, baby. We are not even to the halfway mark yet, but we've had some spectacular racing. No question, more racing to come. Marco Andretti pulling up on the rear wing of Dan Weldon was right there a moment ago as we take a look at our leaders. Vitor Meira still your leader, followed by Elio Castroneves, Thomas Schechter, Ed Carpenter, and then Tony Kanaan. And we were with the battle between Marco trying his best to catch up with Dan Weldon. We'll go a little farther towards the front of the pack here and take a look at the Vision race cars and Tony Kanaan, of course.
Now this is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The battle for 3rd place right now. Castroneves immediately in front of those guys. Now, if these guys want to catch the leader, catch Vitor Meira, they're just going to get in line and help Castroneves catch him. It doesn't look like they have a mind to do that, though, as it looks like Carpenter's already moving to the outside, trying to get around his teammate. But the best way for them to make any ground on Vitor Meira, who has a 2.2-second lead on these guys right now, is to get in line and use that draft to gain some advantage and catch back up with him.
And Larry, I think we're not too far away from our next pit stop window here at 85 laps. You're probably coming up on the better part of 90 laps. We should start seeing people stopping again.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's not going to be too many laps. We said earlier that probably 43, 44 laps. Maybe you can stretch it to 46. And there you can see Castroneves down below that white line. That's the signal that Brian Barnhart told him to give if you were going to pull in the pits so that you wouldn't get rear-ended heading into the pits. So he's pulled down below that white line to let everybody know he's probably going to head for the pits this next time by.
Vitor having a spectacular run here midway through this race. The Michigan 400. The Panther team is one team. We've talked about it a number of times. Helio Castroneves is in the pits.
Yeah, he gave that signal going down the back straightaway that he was going to head in the pits, and that's exactly what he did. He's the first guy to head into the pits, but it's been 45 laps, and several of those laps were run under the yellow, no doubt. Now here comes Vitor Meira into the pits.
Nice pit stop, by the way, for Helio Castroneves. In and out perfectly, no problems. We'll find out if Vitor Meira's gang can do the same.
Well, this is a very, very good crew. Historically, they've been very good in the pits. They've had a few problems this year. Of course, some of the team members have changed over the last couple of years. But last week and this week, they had some good pit stops. You can see a little bit of trouble getting that left front off. But the big guy that's got to do his job is that fuel guy. And boy, it looked good. He got all the fuel in. As soon as they told him to go, he disconnected the fuel hose very well, and he got right back out on the racetrack.
57th career start for Vitor. Has had 20 top 5s, 35 top 10s, and has been on the pole twice. Led 178 laps coming in. He will certainly add to that as we look at Ed Carpenter come in.
Yeah, Thomas Scheckter leads this race. Now that he heads for the pit, you can see him get the signals to the drivers below. So Carpenter's in right now, and he's going to head for the pits this time by and get his fuel load. And you can see Meira just about one lap, and here goes Carpenter back on the racetrack. It's just about one lap that you gain or lose. We'll see now.
Carpenter having a career run here. Tony Kanaan coming in, and Tony Kanaan pulling a tear-off real quickly there.
Well, pit stop's extremely important. One little miscue. We've seen a dropped wheel nut cost somebody a race. Dan Weldon being one of those guys.
A little wing adjustment there as well.
Yeah, a little bit of a wing adjustment in the front. Tony Kanaan gets in and out in pretty good shape.
Thomas Scheckter.
Yep. Now, Scheckter was a little bit slower. Remember, Kanaan came in after him. He goes out about 3 car lengths in front. So Scheckter did lose a little ground.
Yeah, and you take a look at that. I mean, 10.7 seconds. You're like, well, how much could he lose? Well, actually what he lost was a little more than a second. I mean, a 9.5 to a 10.7. He's losing 1.2 seconds on the racetrack. Translates into a lot of real estate.
Yeah, and you can see right now, it's Dan Weldon who's probably going to be coming in this time by, as he's one of the last guys on the racetrack who has not made a pit stop yet.
Dan Weldon coming in now as we speak in the 10 car. And once again, he'll do the same thing, pull the tear off.
Brian Herta also coming in. These are the last 2 cars on this sequence to make their pit stops. So everybody is on the same green flag pit stop strategy at this point of the race.
And so far to this point as well, flawless pit stops for all. Nice job there for Weldon. See the left front tire man. Roast the back tires as he takes off. A little squirt to wash the fuel away, and he's back out, as is Brian Herta.
Well, they made their pit stops on lap 92. So Vitor Meira is back on the lead lap. So if Dan Weldon and Brian Herta can actually stretch another 2 or 3 laps out on their next couple of pit stops, they might make it on 2 more. I don't think anybody else on the racetrack, everybody else is going to have to stop at least, one more. Everybody else is going to have to stop at least twice.
And this time by, we will see Vitor Meira once again take over the point here at the Michigan 400. That is your leader. We're coming to you live from Michigan International. Ken Stout with you, Larry Wrights alongside. Has yet to win a race. I know everybody keeps talking about it. It is huge, but he's done everything pretty much possible short of winning a race.
Yeah, they've really had a terrific season so far, except they have not won a race. And here's Marco Andretti, of course, who came within half a car length of winning the Indianapolis 500 in his very first try. Had a terrible run here up until this race started. Very, very slow in qualifying, very, very slow in practice. And then once he got up in the front because of a good pit stop that first time out, he's been running right with the leaders and looking very, very strong.
certainly a great work for Marco as he's had a strong year, certainly better than a lot of people expected throughout his rookie season.
Yeah, Mir leads Castroneves, Tony Kanaan, and then Dan Weldon as we see this lead pack right here. That's Weldon in fourth, and
Thomas Schechter back there as well. Yep, Thomas Schechter in fifth, then followed by Marco Andretti, Ed Carpenter, Buddy Rice, Kosuke Matsura, who was leading at one point, and then to round out the top 10 is Brian Herta.
Well, the two leaders have now pulled out to a pretty good lead on everybody else. That was Castroneves in second. Now we're looking at Tony Kanaan, who is in third, and then that's fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh is the only group of cars after that pit stop who were able to hang together out there. Castroneves definitely the quickest car on the racetrack at this point.
Oh boy, nice run on him right there. He really got a good run on him coming off of that turn, and now actually needs to get outside to keep the air on the front wing as we spoke of before. It says 3/10 behind, but I don't think so anymore.
Well, no, and once he gets that little run, he'll pull to the outside as he does right here. He's not going to get by him this time, but we'll see if eventually he can use that draft to pull on the outside and go ahead and go around Mira.
Coming out onto the front stretch, and we'll go back here. Look at this battle once again. This is a battle for fourth place. Now as you come up here and take a look at this, it's Tony Kanaan in third place, pretty much running all by himself, not able to hang on to the toe from Elio to catch up with Vitor, but just quick enough to stay ahead of Dan Weldon, Thomas Schechter, Marco Andretti. That battle back there that you're looking at now.
Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, as Weldon is running in fourth place right now, leading that group of cars, trying to catch up with your leaders, but right now not able to do it. As Dan Weldon, he's leading Thomas Schechter, who's tucked right in on his rear wing, along with Andretti. And that's Andretti right behind him. But Thomas Schechter, who had a terrific finish last week's race, and he'd like nothing better to put that Vision Racing in the victor's circle for the first time ever.
And you can see the margin there that he is behind from first to fifth, about 4.5 seconds in a very, very quick pack. I mean, 4.5 seconds is a huge amount here. We're talking about a battle for fourth. And now Ed Carpenter right there in that hunt as well. Just a taste less than 5 seconds back as he battles with Marco Andretti.
Yeah, and that's Scott Dixon right behind him. So all of those cars very, very close to each other, trying to pull back up on that lead pack. But man, oh man, it's Weldon, Schechter, Andretti, Carpenter, all right together.
Marco Andretti, fresh off of a very strong run at Milwaukee. No doubt, very happy to be up here and running with these guys after he struggled all weekend long, all Saturday. I mean, he struggled with that car. It was way off the pace at one point, and even when they got it good on Saturday, it was pretty much way off the pace. But he's able to figure it out. That team certainly never giving up. It's got him in a pretty strong machine now.
Yeah, it certainly is. And there's Buddy Rice. He's running in 8th spot back there.
Danica right back there behind him. Then it looks like Jeff Simmons. And those folks, the better part of 8 seconds behind the leaders.
Yeah, those guys having their own little battle back there. Jeff Simmons trying to get a way around right now. And look at Castroneves. He's up there.
Yep, sorry, once again back there, Castroneves right on the back wing of Vitor Meira. So he's able to pull up on him relatively quickly, but we've yet to see him make the pass. As always, one thing to catch him, another thing to pass him.
Well, it certainly is. We're being told now that Scott Dixon's lap down. We thought he was in that lead pack, but he's a lap down to the leaders right now. So he's got,
I guess, with that fuel issue.
Yeah, that fuel issue. When he lost that lap earlier, when he ran out of fuel, it's really cost him. He's running with the leaders, but he's got to try to get ahead of them and get back on that lead lap.
And stranger things have certainly happened here before. We have a long ways to go as we are 6 laps past the halfway mark at 106 of 200. Michigan International Speedway. And you are watching the IndyCar Series live here. This is race number 11 of 14.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Vitor Meira's.
Vitor Meira, that's Tim Cindric and John Barnes. Vitor Meira's crew chief, and he's talking to Castroneves' crew chief, little strategy going on here. He said, now, you know, if you guys just follow us, we both can save a little fuel, we can pull away from these guys and really make this a race between the two of us at the end of the thing. You know, that's not a bad strategy. And it looks like at this point, Tim Cindric has kind of agreed, because you're right. Castroneves pulled up right behind him, really caught him quickly, and since he's caught him, he's just followed him, and they've actually gained a lot of ground on Kanaan since they've been running together.
And Larry, I think it's something we might have to, we have to talk about this. I don't know if you've witnessed it yet or not, but a number of times going through one of the turns, and you have to figure out which one it is, those weepers definitely are back. There's some water coming up. And I've seen a pretty big spray off of Vitor's car a couple of different times. At some point, I guess there certainly is a possibility of a mandatory yellow, maybe to get out there and dry that track again.
Well, this is a battle still back there. As Schechter has caught Kanaan. He's gone around him now. So these guys really battling each other. Carpenter right in the middle of that thing. Marco Andretti right in the middle of that thing. Of course, Weldon is running in third at this point with Schechter in fourth. And now then there goes Carpenter around Kanaan. So Kanaan on the older tires may not be as quick as he is on the brand new tires. So, you know, he made a wing adjustment. Remember, he made that wing adjustment. That wing adjustment might have hurt him during that last pit stop.
Maybe too much, maybe not enough.
Yep.
Maybe just the wrong direction.
Well, it could have been just the wrong direction, but that whole group has fallen about 5 seconds behind our two leaders. And the strategy, remember, Castroneves does not have a teammate out there any longer to work with. And so John Barnes and Tim Cindric are kind of saying, hey, we're both lone strangers out there.
Baby. And Marco Andretti says, I'm still here, as he pulls up alongside his teammate, Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, but there won't be too many practical jokes if you touch wheels with your teammate here at this racetrack.
Yeah, no, certainly nothing joking about these speeds at this particular time.
Now, these guys really going after each other, though, is Marco. I think he's just tickled to death to be in the hunt after the weekend that he's had up to now. And look at Kanaan. He's in under Ed Carpenter. Oh, those two guys, boy, you can't imagine when you get side by side with somebody like that, and that air can play tricks, and they can move that car sideways 6-8 inches, and you don't have to do anything. It'll just kind of suck those cars together. So a lot of times you see them move that, and you think, geez, what the heck is he doing? It's just something that the aero does, and the driver doesn't have to do anything except try to keep himself from running into the guy beside him.
And it's such a short distance. I mean, when you're side by side there, it doesn't take much. I mean, if your car moves, the other guy's car moves a little bit, and you're touching.
Yeah, and you can't give the guy a lot of room. You can't go halfway up the racetrack to try to stay away from that, because obviously the shortest distance around the racetrack is the fastest still, no matter what.
Tony Kanaan sticking to the bottom side of the track, though. Ed Carpenter out there beside him.
Yeah, now Marco, he's tucked in behind Kanaan to try to put Carpenter one position back. Now then, Kanaan goes down to the bottom as Schechter moves up a little bit to try to catch that air on his front wing.
Yeah, it looked like he had a run, and now Marco obviously ahead of Ed Carpenter as he was able to slide up a bit.
Well, these guys back here are working plenty hard to keep in position and to gain position, because they're battling each other very hard at this point.
You know, talk about something that will take your breath away, and that's actually downshifting in the middle of those turns. You saw Marco do as quickly as possible. He gets that hand back on that steering wheel, and there a hand signal. Looks like the Ed Carpenter possibly.
Well, could be. Carpenter's seen a few of those here in the last couple of races from different drivers, but he's probably just letting him know where he's going to go and to the outside. And you have to pay attention. When you're running this close to everybody, you've got to pay attention to where the guy in front of you is going to be and what he's going to do. And your spotters, this is when your spotters are oh so important. Those spotters are telling these guys inside, 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 clear, clear, clear. Right now they're telling Kanaan it's clear, clear, clear. There's nobody on either side of him. But as soon as Marco pulls up to the outside, they'll be telling him exactly where he's going to be, so he'll know not to drift out too wide and take out his teammate.
And you hear him check up just a little bit. Let's listen in here as he's out of the throttle again.
You can hear when he shifts gears.
And it sounds like that turn actually pulls him down a little bit.
Pulls him down just a little bit, but not much. But that's what you have to do. You have to keep that thing up in that power band. And again, the power band is only from about 9,800 RPMs up. This is Tony Kanaan we're riding along with here. And you can see the Kanaan.
It's Marco again right up there beside Tony Kanaan. Has taken a look 2 or 3 times, and it looked like Ed Carpenter might have been on the outside of Marco there. It was kind of tough to see. Looked like just the nose of the car come up there, quite possibly 3 wide again, and there's Ed Carpenter again.
Yep, he's going to go to the outside now. When Marco moves up, Carpenter's got to be ready for that. No, he didn't move up that time. I thought he would move to the outside and probably cut Carpenter. But see, he looked like he lifted there just a little bit. He did. He got out of the throttle. You could hear it when he lifted out of the throttle. And when he did, it gave Carpenter that chance to go. Well, he didn't go by him on the outside, but at least he gained on him through the middle of the corner there.
He didn't lose too much, enough to at least to get past, but it looks like those 3 actually have fallen back just a taste because they are racing so much. They are 2 wide literally every lap, and they're losing a little ground on the guys in front of them.
And Scott Dixon, who's very much in the points race, he'd love to get around these guys, get up there and get his lap back after that very costly mistake they made in that first fuel stop. You can see he's running with them, but a whole lap down. He and his team strategists are going to have to figure out a way to get back on the lead lap, and I don't think they're going to do it by going out there and passing all those guys.
Weldon, Scheckter, and Kanaan all creating a little separation here between these guys. You're looking at Marco Andretti at Carpenter. Those guys have fallen back a little bit because they're racing so hard, of course, also in that pack as well.
Yeah, there's Dixon back there. So those 3 guys running together. A lot of battles here, but looks like the 2 leaders who have fallen out to a 5, almost a 6-second lead now are very content just to follow one another and to let Vito Mira continue to lead this race. I don't think Castroneves at this point has even wants to try to pass him. He's just going to follow him along. You can see they're running almost identical speeds, obviously, as they're just running nose to tail.
Well, I think Elio probably is going to have a little bit on him if he gets in the draft, but we saw Elio running quicker than him to catch him. But you're exactly right. This is exactly what he was doing with Sam Hornish Jr. at the start of the race. He just stayed behind him, stayed calm, kept his position. No point in pushing the issue right now. Here's a look at our leaders, Vitor Mera and Elio. And Vitor Mera, Elio Castroneves working around lap traffic. Elio Castroneves kind of took it on the chin a little bit and lost some ground on Vitor Mera. As you also take a look at the top 5 here, Dan Weldon and Thomas Scheckter, followed by Tony Kanaan. After 121 of 200 laps, we are in the back half of this race, and it has been pretty uneventful in terms of yellow flags. We saw one a little bit earlier. Scott Dixon ran out of fuel. Other than that, this has been a stand on the throttle, get it done race.
Yeah, it certainly has. As Dan Weldon, take a look at him as he's looking back at those guys. Let's go back and take a look at exactly what happened here. As these 2 guys almost ran into each other, and Marco's making his own little suggestions there, and I think he was doing that one for Tony Kanaan's sake.
Yeah, I missed that one earlier, I must say. So I'm really curious to see what that actually means.
Yeah,
let me by for a minute. I don't know.
They were very close, but right now Marco is ahead of Tony Kanaan, and he's right now challenging Ed Carpenter as those guys have been battling each other. And still Scott Dixon's right there in the mix, even though he's a lap down. He's not giving in to these guys coming right back after him. And you can see that those 3 cars have caught the next 3 cars in line. So they have kind of gotten in line and caught back up with Dan Weldon and Thomas Scheckter.
And Tony Kanaan has actually fallen back a number of positions in that battle.
Yeah, he has. He's fallen back and continues to fall back. We talked earlier about the fact that maybe on the older tires, that thing does not handle quite as well. Now Ed Carpenter back up there trying to challenge his teammate, Thomas Scheckter.
Tony Kanaan, I believe, up there pretty close to 4th or 5th position at one time, and now it's fallen back to 7th. So, again, still battling with Marco, though, and maybe he needed to check up for a moment. Might not be a tire issue. Might have just had to check up for a moment for whatever reason. And now it looks like he's making a move and just as strong as he was before.
Yeah, that's all it takes. One slight lift going in through the corners, and it can cost yourself 2, 3, 4 positions. We saw that happen to Thomas Scheckter very, very early in the race. And you're right, that could be what happened. He's running up there in 4th place, had to check up just a little bit with somebody on the outside of him, and lost 3 spots because those guys were all nose to tail.
Well, the teammates for AGR racing intently with each other here and have for a number of laps now, not able to break away or, for that matter, able to catch up with the 2 lead cars, which have definitely checked out, are wisely working together. You've got to wonder if these 6 cars were to work together, if they'd be able to create a train big enough, a draft stream big enough to actually make a run at the 2 guys up front, Vitor Meira and Helio Castroneves.
Well, we've seen a lot of green flag laps. There hasn't been a yellow since lap 43, so a lot of green flag laps. So these guys putting together a lot of speed and a lot of fighting out there, and that's the reason that these 2 leaders have been able to pull off to a pretty good lead.
Yeah, when you take your 3/10 advantage, you need to string that together with a number of laps to have it mean anything significant, and that's certainly what our 2 leaders have been able to enjoy here lately.
Well, yeah, they have a 6-second lead over this group of cars, so that's a huge, huge lead for anybody. Right now, though, Marco Andretti's car, we're looking back. That's Buddy Rice behind him as you take a look in front of him. Dan Weldon in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. He's in 7th right now and challenging his teammate.
And it is just a battle to hold on to your position as we go back to the front. And it looks like Helio Castroneves will come in. Oh, man, he hammered the brakes hard.
He was hard on the brakes.
We'll have to see. No question with being on the brakes that hard, no question other teams will want to know what his speed was. We'll have to see if he gets an infraction here for speeding in the pit lane, but that's the way the pros do it.
Yeah, Mira's going to come in next time by, so they were on their strategy there. Remember, he was the first guy who stopped during the last round, so he was the first guy in the pits. You know, this is on lap 125, so the next pit stop will
should be around 172 or so.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Let's see, though. Anybody makes a mistake on this pit stop, it could cost them a lot. Once again, Vitor Meira and Panther Racing.
They need to be perfect right here to maintain that lead. If they can maintain that lead, this thing goes green, then Vitor Meira is going to have a shot at winning his first ever IndyCar Series race.
Well, and that looked like a pretty good pit stop. 10.7 seconds we're being told. Marco is in and back out in pretty good shape. So it appears, well, we're being told that Marco had 11.6 second pit stop, which is not as good as he had hoped to have, I'm sure. It's a second slower than Meira's time. So on the racetrack, and here comes Carpenter.
Boy, he's coming in there. Talk about somebody rolling in there. He waited to the last moment, locked him up, sliding in. It won't matter. Those tires are coming off. The new ones are going on.
The guy on the right front is a very important guy. He holds the driver until he makes sure that fuel hose is out.
And a nice pit stop.
Nice pit stop for Ed Carpenter. So far, it appears that everybody's in the pits have done their job. And you can see that's all the tear-offs that Kanaan was running over. You can see him flying up there because all the drivers, when they come in the pits, they tear them up when they enter the pits. So there's a whole ton of them flying through the air as he ran over them.
And that can be an issue. We talked about debris getting inside on those radiators, and it will certainly suck them in there. Tony Kanaan in and out, looking pretty good. You know, something we have to talk about with Vitor Meira is the fact that he was very, very fast in practice. In fact, third fastest in the second practice. So he's had the speed all along. I think now it's showing. Maybe not the Helio Castroneves speed, but right there with him.
Weldon is coming in, so is Scheckter. So those two guys, they're two of the last guys to come in. Brian Herter is the only guy who has not made a pit stop during this round so far. Again, pit stops so important. So far, everybody seems to be, big 2 turns on Weldon's car. And he's back out. Thomas Scheckter also back on the racetrack. And those two guys are going to be able to run together because they came out very close to each other. They came in. He was a little bit slower, and here comes Brian Herta. He's the last guy to make that pit stop. And you can see a lot of guys trying to get down to that speed right at the very last.
Part of the Andretti Green Racing team, of course. The XM Satellite sponsorship on the side of the car was so dominant here 1 year ago.
Well, we'll see. Yep, another good pit stop. Didn't seem like he took quite as much fuel. He may have short fueled that car knowing that they're probably not going to have to take on a full load of fuel the last time in. They're probably, as they go back in the next time, they probably will not take on a fuel load because they don't have to. Castroneves has regained the lead, and you can see that Mira's pit stop, even though it looked to be good, must have been maybe a half a second or a second slower, as he is way behind Castroneves out there. Castroneves has a huge lead on Vitor Mira, who's in second place.
You're exactly right. Well, I tell you, he has a lot of ground to make up, and those guys were just working together for the past number of laps. Helio Castroneves, last win at Texas, best finish this season. Of course, 3 different times, but I think more importantly, his last win from the pole came at Motegi.
Yeah, and there you see the two teammates, the Vision teammates, Scheckter and Ed Carpenter. And it looks like maybe they've decided to do what some of the other guys have done, run nose to tail, use that to your advantage. We talked about how important teammates would be. Well, right now they could be real important.
Out there solo right now, though, his teammate done for the day. Sam Hornish Jr. out early on in the race. In fact, the first car out, the points leader, suffering fatal damage to the car, something mechanical. So he was out, and now leaving it all to Helio Castroneves, who's carrying the torch proudly.
And every other car is still running. 18 cars still running. And out of those 18, 17 of them are still on the lead lap. Take that back. I think 16 on the lead lap. I think Scott Dixon's not on the lead lap either. So 16 still on the lead lap.
That is an incredible ratio. Excellent job. Thomas Scheckter, Ed Carpenter. Battle back there just a bit farther for 5th place.
Yeah, those two guys have been running like that. And again, I think they're trying to hang in there and trying to, gain on everybody else. No, I guess not. Carpenter's had enough of that gaining on everybody else. He's going to go for it.
Well, he's been trying to go for it for the longest time. It was Marco. He was trying to get around there for probably the better part of 20 laps. Was not able to get it done. But it looked like he was going to take a look there at his teammate, Thomas Scheckter.
Yeah, this guy's maybe teammates, but they still want to win the race. So they're going to battle each other pretty hard. It looks like no team rules here.
Oh, wow, a big advantage there in a very small amount of time. As you see Dan Weldon there just ahead of Tony Kanaan. Kanaan trying to hold on as he's working alongside.
Yeah, I think he's come to the realization that the smart thing to do is run right behind him, follow him, and try to catch back up. Mira right now running about a mile an hour faster than Castroneves, so if he can continue that, he can gain pretty quickly on him.
Weldon actually able to get around Tony Kanaan. And
there you see
it looks
Dixon.
like Dixon pulling back out onto the track.
Yeah, he's back out on the racetrack after making that pit stop. He's kind of off sequence with everybody else because of that miscue they had earlier in the race. Speed, important, but strategy, I think, even more important in this particular race.
Now, unfortunately for him, ran out of fuel during a yellow flag.
Yeah,
and it cost him big time.
Yeah, early in the event, very first pit stop, they were going to come in. They told him to stay out because the yellow was out, and he didn't make it around that extra lap that he needed to make it around. But Castroneves right now is maintaining that lead. He's got a 2-second lead over Vitor Mira. Vitor Mira's got about a 5-second lead back to Dan Weldon. So those two guys pretty securely in first and second place. I imagine everybody else on the racetrack right now would like to see a yellow so they could catch back up with those two guys and maybe have a chance to take a shot at them.
When you look at laps led, I mean, there's no question Sam Hornish at 553 coming into this event, and then Dan Weldon at 505, but then it drops way off down into the 300 range. back to Helio Castroneves. So he's back up in front, 10 laps underneath his belt here so far in front.
Yeah, and you can just see from Mira back to Weldon the distance on the racetrack, and it's a good distance back there. Weldon, Kanaan right behind him, and then Carpenter back there behind them. So those three guys, and that's not Carpenter right behind him.
I believe that's Dixon that might have pulled back out there.
Right, so Carpenter's on, he and Schechter are on a ways behind these guys. So these guys running third and fourth, and about 5 seconds behind second place.
A quick gear shift there for Tony Kanaan, and Dixon tucking right up underneath him there in the front stretch there, the D part of that front stretch. Still in a slight turn, but finally pulls out as they go through turns 1 and 2. And we'll find out if, in fact, he might be able to push Kanaan up a little bit closer. Or maybe he just stays out there and tries to pass him.
Well, he's obviously trying to get his lap back. He's on the outside of Kanaan. He's got to pass these two and then catch Castroneves and Mira and go around them. That's a pretty tall order on the racetrack. Again, he's almost going to have to do it with some sort of fuel strategy. And I would think that with that late pit stop, just following these guys and turning the fuel down might afford him some sort of a possibility of getting that lap back. Maybe not.
We're 55 laps from the end, about 3/4 of the way through this race. So no question he's going to need to come back in for at least a splash and go.
Yeah, he's pitted on lap 137 is his last pit stop, so he will have to make another pit stop. Most everybody else pitted between lap 130 and 132, so they're all going to have to make a pit stop. Again, it's going to be interesting to see. I think they'll all take tires if they can, because they'll still have about 30 laps to go.
On board with Danica Patrick here, looking back at the ethanol-sponsored machine, of course, driven by Jeff Simmons.
They are teammates. They're running in 12th and 13th right now. Danica leading her teammate Jeff Simmons. Buddy Rice in the other Ray Hall Letterman car running in 10th position right now.
And you take a look at the Vision teammates once again. And, of course, is Ed Carpenter in front of Thomas Schechter. The car's looking all but identical. I think the sill plates on the rear wing, of course, with the different numbers, is about the only difference.
Yeah, one's red, one's blue. And that's Scott Sharp right behind them. We haven't talked a lot about him so far here today, but he has moved into 7th place. He is in contention and up with these guys. Marco Andretti has fallen back to 8th and is out of the picture there, so he's quite a ways behind these two guys. So except for Tony Kanaan, the Andretti Green guys have all fallen back a ways here in this race.
And Scott Sharp with so much experience at this game. I mean, it's just extremely good at what he does. Most career IRL starts at 126. Most consecutive at 118, starting back at Disney World in 1998. So, I mean, if there's anybody that knows their way around, is patient, knows how to get the job done, I think Scott Sharp's the guy you have to go to.
And we're here, we ride along with Marco Andretti, and he is a ways back now, and trying to figure out a way to get back up. He's 3 seconds behind Scott Sharp and that group in front of him. So he's got a ways to go to catch back up, and he's got nobody there to help him. Frankini's another 3 seconds behind him.
And I think that goes back to what we spoke of before when we were talking about the pit stops, and what does that mean when a guy is 7/10 slower in a pit stop, or maybe 5/10 slower in a pit stop? Well, as you recall, we had 6 of them bunched up, and they could not get away from each other. Everybody pitted. Now you see a little distance between them, and that is the result of pit road.
Absolutely, no question about it. We talked about the strategy to keep with the lead pack. Well, if you get an extremely good pit stop, remember, Vito Mira was ahead of Castroneves before this. He came out, and it's not only the actual pit stop itself, that a 10.3 to 11 second thing, and right there, we talk about 2 seconds. Doesn't look like a lot on the racetrack, but boy, it's a long way to make up. But it's not only that actual stop time, it's also the time getting into the pits and getting out of the pits. Everybody has to run the same speed, but the time that it takes you to slow down and get into the pits is a big part of it. And rookies sometimes have a problem with that. They slow down way too much, way too early, and lose time entering the pits just so they don't make a mistake.
We actually saw that one event ago at Milwaukee when Marco was pulling into the pits and was nearly rear-ended by the competitor pulling behind him. I want to say maybe it was Elio or Sam Hornish, I'm not real sure who, but pulled right up behind him because he kind of eased into the brakes versus the veterans that wait to the last moment. We saw the smoke off the tires. The tires are junk anyways. Hammer the brake and let.
So you're right. If the guy in front of you slows down more than you anticipate and you drill him or hit him, it could be a bad thing. Right now, though, Elio Castroneves is out there on cruise, and after having a bad day in Milwaukee, so far he's having a very good day here in Michigan.
Vitor Marin, the number 2 spot. Dan Weldon in the number 3 spot. Then it's Tony Kanaan, Ed Carpenter, Thomas Scheckter, Scott Sharp, Marco Andretti in 8th, Buddy Rice 9th, and Brian Herter rounds out the top 10. If you're looking for Danica Patrick, she is back in 12th. And Dan Weldon in 3rd place, followed by Tony Kanaan. And then Ed Carpenter back behind them. But Tony Kanaan looking forward at the back of Dan Weldon's car.
Yeah, Dan Weldon having a nice run at Scott Dixon, the 3rd car in that group. Of course, he is a lap down, but Kanaan now has the lap car of Dixon between himself and Dan Weldon. Dan Weldon, of course, from Great Britain, from England. Been a very tough competitor. He made a couple of mistakes as a rookie at Indianapolis and different places, but starting last year, he really came into his own. He really has been on top of his game. He's looked like a winner at every race, and he went from being the new guy on the block in 2004 with Andretti Green to being the leader of the pack in 2005. And as jovial as all these guys were with Andretti Green, I think maybe Tony Kanaan felt threatened. He'd always been the leader of that team, and then when Dan Weldon went out and had such a great year last year, that changed a little bit.
We look at the 3 of them there, certainly working together now. And Scott Dixon, really a great year. I mean, comes in here 2nd in the points, 25 down. Depending on how he finishes up here, who knows where he might end up. 2 wins already, Watkins Glen and Nashville. Nashville, a very tough track to win at. Didn't necessarily have the quickest car, but was able to hang on.
Well, and he remembers that, and that's why all he wants to do is get back on the lead lap. You know, if he can get on the lead lap and get a yellow, then anything can happen. And that's the only thought he's having right now is I need to get myself in a position to get back on the lead lap so if anything else happens.
There's number 14 car up there.
That's Bucknam as we
Jeff
take a look
Bucknam,
back.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can see that he's a little slower, these guys. He's being lapped.
Oh, man, a huge move. Tony Kanaan just dodging traffic right there in Bucknam.
Well, Bucknam, I think he knew there were cars behind him. His spotter obviously had told him there were cars behind him, but all of a sudden, Kanaan was back there, and he had no idea he was still back there.
Side by side with Bucknam, Jeff Bucknam. Of course, we spoke about his father. Winning the inaugural race here back in 1968. Taking home the earnings of $20,088. That's a pretty good prize back in 1968. On board with Dan Weldon here, looking back at traffic. Dan Weldon looking back at, of course, Scott Dixon. And then back behind Dixon, Tony Kanaan, but probably way back now as we go on board with Marco Andretti. And Marco Andretti trying to catch up with Scott Sharp.
Yeah, he's trying to make some ground, but really not having a lot of luck right now. It looks like he's having trouble with some of the lap traffic. Right behind him is Brian Herta. So Marco, with that terrific run he had right after that yellow flag, has fallen back after the second pit stop. After the first pit stop, he had a great run. After the second pit stop, he's fallen back. He's now in 9th place and really struggling just a little bit. That's Buddy Rice right in front of him. He's trying to gain that position. There's Matt Sura. He's chasing Danica Patrick. And that's Jeff Simmons right behind him. So that battle back there is a battle for 12th, 13th, and 14th. As Danica not having the best run that she's had. She's had 2 fourth-place finishes, now then struggling just a little bit.
And in between all of them, we haven't said anything about him. Dario Franchitti in 11th place.
This is a replay from a couple laps ago as Koska Matsura got to the outside. Oh, he comes down the racetrack a little faster than she had anticipated. And when he did, she had to get out of the throttle, and that left both he and Simmons go by.
Jeff Simmons tucking right in there as well, doing a very nice job here.
So Danica has gotten around both of them after that very close call, trying to move up a couple of spots, but they have a few seconds to go to catch up with Franchitti, who's in front of us.
And Jeff Simmons taking a strong look here, pulls up beside her, goes through the turns beside her. A small move there out of the two machines. Very, very close, great battle. Jeff Simmons out of the side of Danica's Patrick car, the ethanol-sponsored machine, holding right on, and it looks like Danica might have a little run on him. No, I don't think so. Once again, just side by side.
Well, neither one of those cars wants to go to the bottom of the racetrack. If any of them could go to the bottom, they'd have a wide-open racetrack to make a pass on the bottom. It doesn't look like anybody's got a car that will work right on that white line down on the bottom of the racetrack.
And Kosuke Matsura not able to go down to the bottom either, or he'd be able to take advantage of it with both of those cars in front of him. He stays on the high side as well.
And Danica, even through the middle of that tri-oval, stays fairly high on the racetrack, which is a little bit unusual, as usually the drivers will try to, and once again, they almost make contact right in the middle.
They have been there for a couple of laps, and finally it looks like Simmons is going to get the nod, possibly get the position here. Danica might have had to check up just ever so slightly.
Wow. We'll take a look at
Elio Castroneves, right? Excellent run right here.
Yeah, he's on his mark. He's doing really well right now. He's gotten the lead and just kind of cruising out there at this point. So,
what a difference a week can make.
Boy, isn't that the truth? He's running about 242 or 342 kilometers an hour right now out there. So he's just kind of got to run cruise control, and he's actually still pulling away from Vito Mira ever so slightly.
You know, a week ago at Milwaukee, had to feel like his championship hopes all but slipped through his fingers, and now he has another shot at it once again. We'll go on board once again. This is Dan Weldon looking back at his teammate, Scott Dixon.
Yeah, those two guys, all three of those guys actually have been running pretty much in that lockstep mode for the last 10 or 15 laps, as Castroneves tooling along here on lap 166. And look at the distance from himself back to Vitor Mira. 4 seconds, increasing ever so slightly every lap. He's running about 2 kilometers an hour faster than Vitor Mira.
And then even a larger gap between Vitor Mira and Dan Weldon.
Yeah, it's a long way back there. It's another 6 seconds. So both Castroneves and Mira out there running all by themselves. Nobody around him, and seem to be running fairly easily. Meanwhile, Weldon having a little bit of a tussle with his teammate who's trying to get back on the lead lap. And Kanaan really doesn't seem to be able to give either one of them a good run for their money right at this point.
Kanaan right on the bottom of the track there, as we talked about Danica Patrick and the competition that's going on back there between her and Simmons not being able to run on the bottom. We see the lap traffic sign, lap traffic flag come out for Scott Dixon.
Yeah, the layover flag is out. Of course, that doesn't mean you have to get out of the way. It just is to let you know that there's a faster car behind you. And believe me, Scott Dixon's known that for the last 15 laps because he's been racing.
He knew that when he passed him, right?
That's right.
Elio, we think, is coming in for a pit stop.
Yeah, he's going to be in. He will make this pit stop on about lap 170, about 30 laps ago. Here he comes. Lap 169. Got about 30 laps to go when he gets back on the racetrack. So
we'll see how long this takes. See if he does take on a full load of fuel like you had mentioned before. Can he get out there just a tick quicker? 4 tires on. Looks like he's taking a full load to me.
No, they got out of there before they got the full load in. He actually pulled that fuel hose at about 9.7 seconds. So I don't think they took on a full load of fuel. They probably left it just a little bit short, but we'll see. Mira now, we'll see how big a gamble they want to take to get back up there with the lead pack. If they want to take a huge gamble and put in a little less fuel, well, that's going to be something they have to decide.
We'll see how many more laps he stays out. As of the last 2 times, he came in the following lap. This time it looks like he might stay out one more.
Well, I think these guys would be pitting sooner because with new tires, you should be faster. So theoretically, the longer you stay on the racetrack, the more ground you're going to lose to the guys with the new tires. So it would seem to me, unless you're just hoping for a yellow flag that would put Castroneves a lap down, seems to me you'd be wanting to get in there and get that those tires changed as quickly as you could.
Now this is a battle for second. They have to come into the pit, so Dan Weldon has taken over second, Tony Kanaan in third, and then of course Scott Dixon. In between them is a lapped car. Scott Dixon is a couple of laps down, so not a factor for the lead at this point.
Yeah, he's very much like to get that lap down. He's actually 1 lap down. He'd like to get that lap back. But right now, Castroneves, we'll see whether that was a good move or a bad move that he made his pit stop a little bit earlier. But everybody's going to be coming in within the next 2 or 3 laps, I would think.
Well, Dixon will certainly stay out as he was the last one out. Everybody had pitted well ahead of him as he's out of sync with pretty much the rest of the cars out there, so he will probably stay. Vitor Meira now makes a move into the pits. Well, as you mentioned before, locks up the tires right there at the last moment. We'll find out if they get a little risky here. 28 laps left inside of this contest.
Well, he's, again, he had a good pit stop, but it still put him down a little bit last time. Mike Griffin right there pulling that tire over the...
Oh, he's definitely out early. 8.9 seconds is the clock we had on him. As we saw before, it was a taste over 10 seconds for Elio Castroneves. That could be huge on the track as we look at Ed Carpenter.
Uh-oh, he killed the engine.
Oh.
Killed the engine. That's going to end his chances. You can see a little jerk when he let out on the clutch. Well,
he has had a spectacular day until that mistake. Oh, and a little incident back behind him.
Yeah,
it looked like Kosuke Matsura
was one of the cars. Here comes Jeff Simmons out on the racetrack. All those cars who were running together, all pitted just pretty much together. And here comes Weldon in as he pulled down to the inside of the racetrack, and Tony Kanaan is going to come with him.
So these two both battling, of course, with a shot at the win yet today. We did see Scott Dixon stay out as we had predicted. We thought he would stay out a little bit longer. Tony Kanaan pulls in.
And you can see those guys again. Oh, they pulled the fuel pretty early on that one, too.
Oh, yeah, 7.3 seconds, the quickest we've seen so far.
Look at that. As soon as the tires are on, these guys have gone. Castroneves.
Oh! Is he going to hang on to the spot here? We have a battle off of pit road. I think Kanaan. Oh, no, and it looks like it's going to go back to Weldon, who is going to hang on to it. They're on the throttle and racing, baby.
Now, those two teams, as soon as the tires were on and the car dropped, they took off. Their strategy was, as soon as the tires drop, you pull the fuel hose and you go back out there. They're hoping that maybe they had enough fuel, or perhaps they're hoping that, there'll be a yellow flag. Schechter has not pitted yet, so he's going to have to come in pretty shortly. He doesn't want to do what Dixon did and stay out there and run out of fuel.
Well, and I guess they're all kind of hoping that amount of time that they can shave off in the pits would offset the amount of time that they were losing to a guy with new tires, namely Elio Castroneves, who really only had a couple of laps on him with the new tires. They were able to shave off literally seconds inside of the pits by taking on a lighter fuel load. Of course, will that all pan out? Will they have enough fuel at the end of the race?
Well, the real thing there was, as we said, the longer they stay out there with Castroneves on new tires, he's going to have a speed advantage. Well, because of that speed advantage, they stayed out 4 laps longer. Oh, and you can see he got in and out very, very quickly too. But Castroneves is going to maintain the lead. So
speaking of Castroneves,
is your leader right now.
Helio Castroneves having a great run out here today after a disappointing finish in Milwaukee where he crashed. They fixed the car and came back out. Earned a few laps, but certainly not the finish that he was looking for. Although he just might get that finish. He's looking. Well, it was pit stops that separated everybody. It's now pit stops that have closed everybody back up. After 178 of 200 laps, just 22 to go. Helio Castroneves is your leader. Vitor Meira, then Dan Weldon are in the top 3. Tony Kanaan and Thomas Scheckter having another very strong run here. So who knows what's going to happen here in these final 20 laps, but the game is certainly on. Helio Castroneves, first one into the pits, got the new tires, went back out, went to work. Everybody else waiting as long as possible to try and shave a little time off their pit stop, and did exactly that.
Well, here's Vitor Meira, but he's got a lot of traffic in front of him. Castroneves has just gone through a whole bunch of cars and gotten through most of those guys. So Vitor Meira still about a half a straightaway behind these guys, and really, it's going to take a yellow flag for him to close in on Castroneves if he's going to have any chance at all of catching him and getting around him.
Yeah, really, if he had a shot, he needed that lap traffic to kind of hold Helio up just a bit, and he didn't get that break either.
Now, Castroneves was moving around. He was doing his share of moving around. There's Weldon and Kanaan running in 3rd and 4th, and you can see they're not all that far behind Vitor Meira right now. But those two guys stuck together when they went in the pits. They had good pit stops. They came out almost at exactly the same time. But once they got on the racetrack, all Kanaan can do is follow him. He can't really gain all that much or try to make the pass on him.
It's certainly one of the better battles out here in the top 5 as you take a look at the interval right now.
Now, that's the points, and see what the points would be if it ended right now. And Sam Hornish would lose the lead to Castroneves because of that this DNF he's going to have here today, and everybody else is going to close in.
And it's not over by any means at the end of this race. Still 3 more races to go, and as we've seen, anything can happen at any given time.
Yeah, and these, once again, in some lap traffic as Weldon and Kanaan trying to figure out some way of gaining on Vitor Meira.
Down to 17 to go.
That's Scott Dixon again right there with them. But, his day pretty much ended, even though we thought there might be some sort of strategy or some luck, but there haven't been any yellow flags. There was no strategy to play because we haven't had any yellow flags. If we had a couple of yellows, you might have been able to get off sequence or do something, but just hasn't played into Scott Dixon's favor today. He had no chance.
Oh, and it looked like right there, Tony Kanaan's car moved around just a little bit. Was able to maintain the same distance. And again, it looks like Scott Dixon is going to try to get around Tony Kanaan, put himself in between Kanaan and obviously Weldon. A little insurance policy, if you will, here towards the end of that race. I don't want to say he's going to be blocking, but I guarantee if he can help out his teammate, he will.
Well, he's gotten around Kanaan at this point, so we'll just have to see what happens, because these guys battle each other pretty hard. There's only about 5 or 6 cars on the lead lap right now, as this pace that Castroneves has been setting is just absolutely unbelievable.
Well, I must say I'm very surprised. If Dixon makes the pass here on Weldon, I will be shocked.
Well, he's certainly going to give her a try. And there are only 6 cars on the lead lap right now. And Carpenter, he's still running in 7th, but that when he killed the engine, it shot his chances and put him a lap down. Danica Patrick back in 8th with Mark Andretti in 9th.
Well, he tucks back in behind him now. I would certainly think that he would stay there knowing that his position doesn't get any better whether he's in front of Weldon or behind Weldon, but certainly offers the opportunity to make Kanaan work a little bit harder to get around Weldon. 4th position.
Well, the only thing I can think of is maybe he thinks he's a little faster on the racetrack and might be able to actually pull Dan Weldon back forward. But Chip Ganassi, he's... I wonder what he is thinking right now. You can see,
looks like he's going down to have a talk with somebody.
Yeah, he might be going down to talk to the guys with Weldon's crew, and that's exactly what he's going to do. And
he apparently already has, and is back in his pit box.
Oh, yeah, he is. He's back in his pit box.
Well, I don't know. Dixon was going to make the pass, and now he's not.
Who knows? But, there's got to be some team strategy, I guess, if you're going to play this game the way it is. But look at this gaggle of cars. Now, Castroneves has already gotten through all these guys. Vito Mira has got all those guys to get around, and if he should have trouble getting through this traffic, it'll give Weldon and Kanaan a huge advantage and a huge chance to gain back up on Mira. And you can see that's Franchitti right in front of him, Simmons down on the inside of him. But this is a very dicey moment.
Wow! Very, very close. And, it takes you back a week ago when Vitor Mera all by himself just spun the car and put it into the wall at Milwaukee after having a strong run there. I mean, really, our first and second place competitors both crashed their cars at Milwaukee. But now Vitor trying to get through lap traffic. And, boy, I'll tell you, that's about as close as it gets right there.
And you can see Franchitti, he's moved up on the racetrack. He saw the layover flag. His spotter's telling him you got Vito Mira behind you. Franchitti's trying to get out of the way, trying to let him go. Trouble is, he's running so fast that it's not all that easy for Vitor to make the pass.
Well, I think the other issue is, and we heard Ed Carpenter talk about this earlier, these people are racing for a position.
Sure they are.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we're glad you're in second, Vitor, but we can't move over and give something up to you. If you're going to get us, you got to earn it.
Well, now you can see the next two cars in line. Looks like Matsura and maybe Buddy Rice. They did give him a little... Oh, and that was Danica Patrick had that huge wiggle down there right in front of Mira. She saved it, but that thing went way, way loose on her, and she grabbed that thing. Man, oh, man.
So many cars worked in the Austin.
And look what happened. When Mira saw that thing, he got clear out of the gas, thinking she was going to crash for sure, and he lapped two of the cars back around him. Both Andretti and Franchitti both got back around him when he jumped out of the throttle when Danica did that huge wiggle down there.
9 laps to go. We are under the 10 mark. Vitor Mera trying to thread his way through lap traffic, and it is a battle as everybody is in there fighting for position, including Marco Andretti, who he's just passed, as he's running up on some of the other competitors there, like Ed Carpenter, just ahead of him.
Yeah, I said Franchitti. That is Ed Carpenter that he's going beside right now, and we'll see.
And it looks like Danica in front of Carpenter, and now Vitor gets pushed way wide.
Yeah, as Carpenter moved up the racetrack, he wasn't expecting Carpenter to move out that wide, and he almost had an issue with Carpenter again. So Vito Mira having a very exciting second place run to have such a lead on third place right now. I mean, those guys have gained on him some, but not as much as I thought. But boy, these guys are really racing each other hard back there when they're getting lapped.
Helio Castroneves.
Well, he's got a 2-second lead, so he has lost some ground to Vito Mira. When they came out of the pits, he had a 3.5-second lead. But Vito Mira, through all this traffic and everything, he has gained on him. The question is, with 7 laps to go, can he gain enough? And I don't think so. That's a pretty good-sized lead, 2 seconds here at Michigan.
Well, Helio Castroneves, as we showed before, a great start to the season. The last 4 races, not so hot. Vitor Mera lap speeds there as you take a look at those. But going back to Helio, 3 wins so far, but has struggled as of late. And he needed this run right here. He came in with that attitude, I'm going to win all the rest of the races. I'm not going to be conservative. And he has certainly gone for it here today. Vitor Mera, and they're 3 wide back behind him as they go for it. Down to 6 laps just to go, and it is close.
That was Danica Patrick down on the inside of Ed Carpenter. Couldn't tell who was on the outside, but man, oh man, you're right. Just because they're a lap down, they haven't given up on this thing.
You take a look at our leader, Elio Castroneves, all out by himself. Nobody around him.
Wow, he's losing about 1/10 of a second a lap. Unfortunately for Vitor Mira, there's only 5 laps to go, so that's
only a half second the way my math works.
Yep, not enough time.
Elio has a much larger lead than that. In fact, 1.8 seconds. So we don't see that happening. Once again, you can see the ABC sponsored machine.
Now the question is he going to go to the top or the bottom? Vitor Mira's got to make a choice here, and it looks like he's going to go to the bottom and let Vitor go around the outside.
Well, Bucknam taking the bottom line, and Vitor around the outside managed to get his way through all that lap traffic. And it looks like, at this point anyways, another bridesmaid finish.
Keeps kicking away, you know. You're right. He wants so badly to get that win, but there always seems to be only one guy faster than he is, but that's all it takes.
A week ago, it was the 2 guys out front that crashed at Milwaukee. 1 week later, we find them in first and second place with just a taste over 2 laps to go at the Michigan 400. Can they hang on? Talk about redeeming themselves. This is a huge opportunity for both.
Well, it certainly is, and Vitor Mira has certainly proven that he can run with the big boys. John Barnes said earlier that he wouldn't trade him for anybody he's ever had because he thinks he's got as much determination as anybody ever had, and he certainly proved it out here today. He's been very, very quick all day long.
Just 2 laps left to run, and it looks like Danica Patrick is pulling down underneath the white line. Will we see a yellow flag here?
Well, we'll see. What happens is
Elio Castroneves coming around, and Vitor Mira in second place. Coming up on 1 lap to go. We've not seen a yellow as of yet. Danica Patrick pulling underneath the white line, though. Final lap as Elio Castroneves looks for his 11th career win.
Well, Castroneves knows that all he has to do now is get this thing back to the finish line, and it's all his. He's going to be a plenty happy camper after last week, knowing that he had just lost the championship, and suddenly with Sam Hornish's bad luck, finding himself right back in the championship chase and in the lead. Look at this.
Hey, you see his hand, of course, qualified it on the pole and brings home the win as a checkers wave for Elio Castroneves. Talk about a rebound. Roger Penske, of course, the captain, very happy right there. Excellent job for Elio Castroneves. Vitor Mira in the number 2 spot. And, of course, the look of dejection right there. Danica Patrick very upset here at the end of the run.
Let's go down and see if we can get a word with Roger Penske.
Your streaks across victory lane, crush close to the line. You still pump your fist.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a big day for us because we started off not in very good shape with Sam. We had some water pressure and high water and oil temperature early on, and that's why we brought him in. Didn't want to take a chance, and then at the end brought him in so we didn't have an accident. But Elio drove a great race, great pit stops. I think it was good strategy. Mira had a good car today, but this championship's getting tighter and tighter, and we'll see Elio climb that fence now, I'm sure.
All right, guys, we're standing by. Let's go back to you.
Well, the thing that made Castroneves famous, the fence climb at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway when he won the first Indianapolis 500.
And look at the banking there.
And listen to the crowd. The crowd loves it. Listen to him, man. They love it to see. They love to see the Spider-Man get up there and give his salute to the crowd. And you're right. It's not as easy as it used to be. He's going to give up only halfway up. I'm not going all the way up, he says.
Yeah, that's enough. Well, I mean, when you look at the banking of that track and him running up there, of course, the degree is a lot more exaggerated as we take a look at Danica Patrick. And Danica Patrick just beside herself as something went wrong with the car late in the running here with just 2 laps to go. No, and she was losing those points again.
Yeah, she went
and look at this. Elio Castroneves giving his car a hug. Once again, we'll go back a look at Danica. You can see just the absolute frustration.
Well, she only had 2 laps to go. She had battled so hard, come so close. I mean, she was close to several crashes. We saw her save that thing with a big wiggle right there with just about 5 laps to go. She did a terrific job all throughout the race. She was running in about 11th or 12th place when that thing went away on her. Tough break.
Wow. Amazing run here. Amazing turnaround for Helio Castroneves as Vitor Meira. Both of them making a strong comeback here after Milwaukee. So spectacular job to both teams. And we heard Roger say that before, that, they were not the fast cars out here, a little bit earlier, certainly struggling with the car of Sam Hornish Jr., but they were able to keep, of course, Helio Castroneves as the flagship. He did an excellent job. They closed the gap in pit road and was able to get out in front of Vitor Meira.
Hey, Danica, don't tear down the cones, baby. It's all over with. Go on to the next one.
See you.
Nothing you can do about that. Well, we're not going to get a chance to talk to Helio Castroneves because of time constraints, all the rain and everything we've had all day long. So we're going to have to get off of here. But there you can see Castroneves telling everybody how many wins he's got and how great it is.
Well, this has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, in association with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Helio Castroneves is your winner. We thank you for watching. For Larry Rice, I'm Ken Stepp. We'll see you next time with the IndyCar Series.